Hey guys, welcome to this video. Today we are going to be painting on glass. So originally I had thought I was going to do two paintings in this video, but it took quite a long time to do one. So we're only doing one. If you haven't seen the trend on Instagram, and I don't know how long this has been going around, I assume people have been doing it for a really long time, but I was just recently made aware of it. People are taking glass and painting on one side of it, and when you flip it over, you get the image. So it kind of plays with your mind while you're doing it because you have to do all the highlights and all the shadows before you can do all your midtones. So you kind of have to think in reverse while you're painting. This is my first time attempting this trend, so I made some mistakes along the way. If you guys have any helpful tips, definitely let me know in the comments because this is something that I'd like to try again, and I do have another piece of glass ready to go for my next attempt. The first thing I did, which I feel like is pretty obvious, is I just traced the glass on a sketchbook. And that is so I can do a sketch of what I'm going to be painting on the glass because you can't really sketch on the glass with a pencil. You can maybe use like a China marker or something and kind of put a sketch down, but you can't really erase it once you go over it. And that's going to be the thing that is closest to the glass. So it's always going to live on top of the rest of the paint that you put on. So I wanted to make sure I knew what my image was going to look like. For this one, I decided to do some fan art from My Hero Academia. If you guys haven't watched it, it's a really cute anime. I enjoy it. And I'm not always the biggest into like the superhero trope, but I enjoy this. So this is one of the characters from that show. I partially did her because she has pink and I wanted to put this up in my office setup, which has a lot of pink, so she'll fit right in. But I also just really love her character. So while I'm finishing up the sketch, let's talk about the supplies that I used. For the most part, I used Liquitex or Winsor & Newton acrylic paints. And I think in this case, you would probably want something that's heavy bodied simply because it's thick, so you're not going to see light through it after one or two coats. If you use a thinner paint, you're going to have to do several coats, otherwise you're going to see right through it. Here I was experimenting with how I wanted to do my lines. At first I thought maybe I would do like a magenta line work to match this character's style. I tried Sharpie, but the Sharpie was really see-through and I didn't know how that would work. The paint, the problem with it is that you're using a brush, so you are getting brush strokes, and also it wasn't super opaque. The paint that I had was not heavy bodied paint, so maybe if I used something heavier it would work well. But the Posca seemed like the perfect material to use. It was thick, it wasn't streaky, and overall it did work really well for the line work. The only problem I ran into later was as I was going over it with the acrylic paint, it started to smudge and smear a little bit. So I think the Sharpie might be a good alternative because it is alcohol instead of water based. Um, I think maybe it would smear less. I definitely have to experiment with that though. I don't really know. If you guys know what the best thing to use for line work is, let me know. The best alternative might just be to use acrylic paint and do a few coats and let it dry before moving on to your colors. Again, I would like to do this again, so I'll try experimenting, and if I find some good solutions, I'll let you guys know, because from what I was browsing, on the internet, I really didn't find a whole lot of how to do this, just a lot of people that had done it. So like I was saying at the beginning of this video, when you're doing this, you really have to think in reverse. So you have to do all your highlights first, all your shadows first, and then you can start moving on to your midtones because whatever you put on first is what's going to be visible. And that's kind of the opposite of how a lot of people do normal art and normal painting. So you do kind of have to think about it. When I was doing the sketch, I did block out some areas and like do some lines or scribbles in them so that I knew that those were going to be darker areas. I also had a reference image up, so that helped. And you can obviously pick up the glass, turn it around, and look at it, which I did a few times just to kind of see how I was doing. The other really important thing to keep in mind while doing this is that you are putting on really thick globs of paint, because if you don't, it's going to be see-through, and when you turn the image over, you're just not going to be able to see very well because the light's going to be shining through. I did know that I was going to be putting this in a frame, so I wasn't too concerned about it, but in areas where I needed to put paint over other paint, I did want to be thicker so that the other paint wasn't showing through. But this is really thick globs of paint and it does take a while to dry. I would actually recommend not doing what I did. I sat down and worked on this, and I think it took maybe like an hour and a half or something, where I just sat down and I painted, and it worked okay. But because I was impatient and didn't really take breaks between the highlights and the shadows, there are a couple areas that got a little bit smeared because I decided to put the next layer on top of some paint that wasn't 100% dry. So if you're gonna do this, do a layer, walk away for an hour or two, and then come back. And this paint does take a really long time to dry at the end. I did decide to do a background color in the end, and so I went over the entire thing with paint, and I had to let it dry overnight because there was just so much paint. So definitely take your time and be patient if you want good results. And that's all I've really got for you guys. So I will put some music and let you guys enjoy the rest of this sped up process. If there's any videos that you'd like to see or any different art techniques that you'd like me to try to do, definitely let me know. I'm always up for trying new things, especially right now. I feel like I've had a lot of art block recently, and one of the things that helps me kind of get back into things is just doing something that's completely different than I would normally do. So if there's anything you think I should try, definitely let me know. Yeah, I'll see you guys at the end of this video when you get to see the final product. Okay, guys, we are almost at the end, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye!